EGM Network.
Hello, welcome to Cottage Conversations. I'm Jesse Krisky, and if you're like me, you're not a real estate agent. You do not know how to sell homes. In fact, you're probably going to make a lot of mistakes if you try to sell your homes. But here we're talking about the worst mistakes home buyers make. And joining us today are a lot of people in the industry. John King, Mary Lou Chambriello, Gina Melton, and Jennifer Artiega. Welcome, everybody.
Hi there.
Thank you,
okay,
Jesse.
welcome, Jesse.
Hello.
Thank you for introducing us. Hi, everyone. It's Mary Lou Chambriello here. I'm a realtor in Indian River County, and I work for Remax Crown Realty. I'm very excited to be with Remax Crown, too, by the way. Today, we're going to be talking about the worst mistakes buyers make. And believe it or not, it really does pay, don't you think, John, to hire a realtor?
100%. So one of the biggest mistakes people make is they don't, as a seller's, when a seller is trying to find a real estate agent to represent their property and to sell their home, they typically interview multiple agents. And for whatever reason, the industry standard for buyers are they just kind of end up with whoever they talk to first. And there really should be a better interview process to locate the proper agent to help you navigate through that purchase process as well.
I've said it 1,000 times. I suggest they go to open houses and see how that agent operates. So, Gina, talk to us about what you find as a lender that most people make as an error.
Not looking at their credit before they go to buy a home.
And how do they do that?
There's numerous ways you can do that. You can go directly to Equifax, Experian, or TransUnion and look there. You can look on some of your credit cards. They're not always accurate.
Are they close?
They're fairly close
enough, yeah.
Close enough. If, there's a big difference between 500 and 800.
Huge. Huge. Okay, and Jennifer, how about you?
What was the question again?
The question is, what is the most common mistake, error that you see that buyers make?
That buyers make?
Yeah.
Being in the process of getting their loan and taking out new credit cards or purchasing a vehicle.
Not understanding, yeah.
But that's our job to educate them as well.
Hopefully we get them before they do that. Yeah. The other thing, I myself have had a lot of crazy, but I always tell them, when you're in the loan process, if we put an offer in, John says, don't buy a stamp without conferring with your mortgage broker. I say, if you need toothpaste, just come to my house. I'll give it to you. Don't buy anything unless
I'll remember that.
That's
people
unnecessary.
will see sales. Oh, there's a sale on bedroom sets or living room furniture.
Especially.
We want to take advantage of that sale, and they go out and they purchase it and they finance it on credit. And even if you're very far along in that loan process, they always do another credit pull right towards the end of it. And all of a sudden, there's this new debt, and it's going to throw your ratios off. And now you've got a bunch of very nice furniture and no house to put it in.
Exactly. And you've also killed a transaction, and God only knows what the repercussions are on that.
So sorry, Mary Lou, I wasn't sure you were asking me the same question.
Okay, that's okay. Jennifer, I'm going to ask you first then, okay?
Okay.
All right?
Okay.
Have you ever worked with an emotional buyer? I mean, they're all emotional, let's be honest. Yeah.
Many of them going through divorces or...
That's a rough one.
Moving up north somewhere because their parents are sick. So, I take heart to a lot of that, and some of them are very difficult for me.
Yeah, well, I'm talking about the kind of emotion. I remember one time I had a buyer. He bought the house. That actually was about maybe 3 or 4 years ago. He put a contract on the house, and the girlfriend came during the inspection period and started screaming, I'm not living here. I'm not living here. Killed the transaction.
Oh, gosh.
That kind of emotional type of thing. Have you had that happen to you?
Cheaper to get a new girlfriend.
Yeah.
It was quite an episode.
I can't really think of one that I've had that's been emotional in that sense.
Yeah, we always try to keep the emotion out of it, but it's hard for buyers and it's hard for sellers as well because it is extremely emotional. How about you? Have you ever dealt with anybody, Gina, that gets emotional over their loan or they?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
You always get somebody where something, it's like, you just asked me for a paper. Yes, sir, but you opened that new account I told you not to open, so now I need a statement and da-da-da. then everybody starts to blow up.
And I think money is emotional anyway.
It's a lot of money.
I think money
it's the most money
is
you
emotional.
spend in your life.
You know, I think that people get very emotional over money. I've lost transactions with John, actually, over $1,000. Okay.
Sorry.
And it wasn't his fault. Neither the buyer or the seller would move. Okay.
It does
It was
happen.
$1,000, and you lose a transaction, and it was not no longer about buying or selling. It was about winning.
And I have seen that.
Yeah, that happens an awful lot. That happens too much to me, by the way. I'm just a... Have you ever watched a buyer? I just talked about that as myself, getting caught in the bidding war, and then realizing that they're going over their price. Have you had that happen?
Yeah, I have, because they don't realize. They're so excited. It's like being at an auction.
Yeah.
You know, you don't realize what the final price you're paying for that is. So.
It's not about winning. It's not about winning. It's about finding the right house. Have you had that? You're lucky. You don't have to deal with that.
I don't have to deal with that so much.
You get a lot of buyer's remorse in those situations, and I've seen it largely from the seller side, where you might have 5 offers on the property, and it's a bidding war, and it's not necessarily an auction, but it's like, hey, give it your best shot. And they win, and they're excited, and then they walk away during their inspection period, and it's not really that there's anything wrong with the house.
Yeah.
It's just like that, you know, the reality, that euphoria comes off of them, and they're like, well, wait a second, I'm paying too much for this house now. So on the seller side, I'm not a huge fan of highest and best, and that situation, because you end up in a lot of cases. I've seen it where we've had 5 offers, and then we called for highest and best, and all 5 people said, I'm not getting into a bidding war, and walk away. So that's where a very good, experienced, educated agent can guide you through that process. And we spend, as buyer's agents, we spend a lot of time talking buyers out of purchasing a house that isn't necessarily right for them. You know,
well, I
because
agree
it looks
with that,
beautiful.
John.
As soon as you take all that furniture out and all the decorations
take away the
out,
pillows,
visualize it empty, and then see if you want to live
and
here.
that happens a lot when they buy new construction, because when they walk in, everything is dazzling, and then the next thing you know, they go in and see the house that they bought, and it's white walls, and it's kind of
underwhelming.
It's underwhelming, very much. I agree with that, though, John. In that particular case, I always have that conversation with my sellers, and this is a little bit off track. If we get multiple offers, I don't like highest and best. What I like is let's work the best offer, and then let's keep the second best offer as a backup, you know, so that we're like that. Also, because when the market was crazy, you would go 5, 6, you would go down to the 5th bid, you know, everything would fall apart. So that's the conversation I have with them. I prefer not a multiple bid situation, but working the best offer and keeping the second best offer in place.
It's
but again, that is the
client.
seller's choice. It's not about me as much as it should be. It's not about me.
A really good buyer's agent helps their clients strip the emotion out of it.
Exactly.
And get down to,
Will this house work
location
for
and
you?
the house. You can change anything on a house except for its location. So if you don't like the color of it, or you don't like the landscaping, all of that stuff can easily be changed. But strip the emotion out and really pinpoint what is the most important. I just had buyer's agents, or I was a buyer's agent for some clients, and they have some mobility issues, and they just fell in love with this 2-story house with the living room and kitchen on the 2nd floor. And it was like, this is really a bad, I'll sell you whatever you want, but this is a really bad idea in my opinion. And they stripped the emotion out because it looked beautiful. And they're like, no, you're right. We need to go with that single level, because mobility issues aren't going to get any better.
They're going to get worse. And, you know, I say it all the time, a house should be an employee. And I know that it sounds kind of crazy, but the house should work for you. It should be an absolute employee. And if you're going into a house and it doesn't work, if there's something going on that you can't change, then you have to move on. You know, it should work for you 2 ways. It should be working for you. We like to cook a lot. We have a lot of counter space in our house. We have a lot of company. So I have a big dining room. I have a large dining room. And I have 28, I'm bragging now because we have a small house. We have 28 feet of counter space. I'm very braggadocious about that.
Functionality.
So it functions for us, and the house works for us, and it should also be making you money at the same time. You know, it should be making you money. So a house should work for you.
I'll be able to make more loaves of sourdough when I have a better kitchen.
Okay, how wonderful. I look forward to that, like, since I can't eat bread. Okay. What do you see about buyers? Do they pressure themselves into making an offer when they probably shouldn't be? I mean, are they worried about going in? Okay, let me put an offer in right away. I mean, there was a time when that was very necessary, but I don't think that's this market. What do you think, John?
So I always caution them, and there's instances where that's necessary, whether it be the market or we've got a job transfer. I'm selling my house in, wherever, Maine, and I have to have a place to live, and I don't want to rent something. I don't want to have to move twice, and you're on a tight deadline. When you get yourself into that position, you don't put enough thought into it, and that's where a good buyer's agent really comes in, because you're looking at, okay, what is the exit strategy on this? Even if this is not your dream home, at least you can buy this. If you buy it right, we can sell it in a couple years once you have time to go either build your preferred house or let me go find it on the open market for you.
You know, what happened to me recently? I had a lender not know what a loan commitment was. Okay, and you wondered why I worried about that transaction, John. Okay, but anyway.
It closed, right?
It closed, but he did not
Told you
know.
it would.
I told you so, but he was correct. I was really, there were so many red flags in this transaction, but I got through them all.
It kept you on edge.
Oh my gosh, I lost a lot of sleep. But I called up the lender and I'm like, the loan commitment is due today. And he said to me, I'm not even mildly exaggerating, what is a loan commitment? Yes. Could you tell people what a loan commitment is? And I hope that agent is, or that lender is listening. Okay, go ahead.
A loan commitment is once an underwriter has approved, loved, and hugged all of their loan information and everything's been verified, insurance is in, and you're ready to go to closing.
Yeah. Well, my guy did not know. There's a train coming through. I just heard it. So, and the other thing is, what do buyers need to understand? I always try to make buyers understand their numbers. Understand what it's going to cost you going in for the loan, what it's going to cost you for moving, what it's going to cost you, and if we have to do what do you call those, deposits, that type of thing, and furniture, anything. What do you think about that, Gina? That's a big deal, in my opinion.
It is a very big deal because it's not just what your closing costs and down payment are. You're going to need stuff. Mm-hmm. You're going to have to. A lot of times new furniture, and the house pest inspection, and now the fridge doesn't work. Yeah. 3 days later.
Surprises happen.
You've got electricity, you've got, internet, you've got all of those bills. And I've spent my entire career, and I did it, and I'm fortunate that I did it when my wife and I built our first house, is I got pre-approved for a higher amount than I actually used, because I said this is what I want my payment to be, because I do not want to be a slave to my house. I don't want to work just to have my house. I want to be able to go travel and fish and do whatever I want to do. I want to enjoy my life.
Buy a boat.
Buy a boat or a few. And so it's nice to live well within your means. And I spent a lot of time with my buyers over the years when I've worked with them, just trying to understand that concept.
You want to go to Starbucks. You want to be able to do that.
This is your first house, second house. You can always sell and buy something bigger as your income increases or your other debts, decrease. But in our society, we too often push, okay, I qualify for this. And you see it not even in real estate, but in, car sales. They're like, here's your payment. And in reality, they should be looking at, what is it actually going to cost me? What is the actual total amount of money that I'm going to pay?
Exactly.
And car payments have gotten, and Gina, I'm sure can elaborate on this. They've gotten way out of control. There's a lot of people
a house
with
payment,
with over $1,000 a month in car payments for one single vehicle, and then they're trying to buy a home.
And you're financing it for how long? I mean, you're financing it for 6 and 7 years. It's crazy, now. Absolutely insane. Okay, so let's talk about. They need to know their numbers. They need to understand their numbers. What it's going to cost them, and what's the difference between getting pre-qualified and being qualified, because I like qualified. That's my favorite.
Pre-approved and pre-qualified. The big difference is a pre-qualification. I take your information, I run your credit, I run it through an automated underwriting system, and I go, looks good. Pre-approved means I did all that, plus an underwriter took all your paperwork, looked at everything, said, oh, this looks good.
We got it.
We got it. And then all you got to do at that point is find a house.
Find the home. And that's really a wonderful way to go. Yeah. And I think John made a really strong point, and I know that Jennifer agrees with that as well. Even if you're approved for, a higher amount, just remember that you do want to go out. You do want to be able to enjoy yourself, and you don't want to be house poor. When we moved to Florida, we moved to Coral Springs initially, and I worked at believe it or not, I worked at a Jewish daycare. I was their Shabbos Goyim. I was their only non-Jewish person. So anyway, I went to somebody's house. It was magnificent. On the exterior, and I walked inside, and they were eating on a card table. That is just not how you want to live. I mean, you want to enjoy your home. You want to live. Home is my favorite word. It's my absolute favorite word, my absolute favorite feeling. So, I think we need to let go of a lot of that crazy.
Your house is what grounds you, right? That's where your family comes, and you just need to have that be your safe space that you can go to, and and not be stressing you out. It's not who has the biggest house on the block. It's who's living the best life at the end of the day.
It's about, and you stop caring about what the others are doing and just take care of yourself. And, your home is your own personal space. It's my safe place. I love coming home. I live in Vero Lake Estates, not a high-end neighborhood, and Jennifer and I both live there. And I can tell you, and you have your shop out there. Yeah. And I can tell you that once I get onto 510 and then I pull in, I start feeling good. And then when I get down to I feel better and better. The minute I'm in my driveway, open that garage door, darn, I'm in my happy place.
I'm greeted with love by the dogs.
By the dogs. Well,
when do we go to the beach? Let's go.
They go to the beach, yeah, I'm telling you.
They love the beach.
What is the biggest wait, don't do that moment you've ever had? I think John mentioned car. Don't buy that before we close the house. I guess furniture would be one. Don't be running off to rooms to go.
Don't quit your job.
Don't quit your job.
Don't change your job.
We had a client one time lost $10,000 in escrow money because when they did the final income verification, the receptionist at his job said, "Oh no, he just retired. We're actually having his retirement party right now."
Uh-oh.
And
how long ago was that? I think I remember that.
That was it was a house on Laconia Street. I'll never forget it. And the gentleman lost 10 grand because the seller said we were literally a day or two before closing, and without income, I don't care what your credit is, I don't care what your assets are, you're probably not going to be able to qualify for a mortgage.
Unbelievable.
Gina might be able to make something happen, but in that case, we didn't have a Gina on the other side, and he lost $10,000.
And you try to honestly really tell them everything and go over it again and again and again. And sometimes you feel like a broken record because you're saying, don't do this, don't do that, don't do the other thing. But it's for their benefit. So have you ever had a closing not close because somebody did something stupid?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was that?
How many this week so far?
Nobody this week, but no, I did have a gentleman that basically retired from his company and was going to be a consultant on a 1099. And he was at the time paid on a W-2. They called to do the employment verification, and he wasn't. They're like, "Oh no, he's going to be a consultant."
Wow.
And he was very fortunate in his case that he did have the ability to go ahead and pay cash. But we were 3 days out from closing, and the wheels fell off the bus, and he was mad at me, and I'm like, "But I specifically told you not to do that."
Yeah, no. I had a case, and I very rarely lose my temper in public, very rarely. And I had a case where we were 3 days before closing, and I had the agent texted me, which I thought was absolutely, nobody likes to make those hard phone calls, but there are some phone calls where you pick up the phone and say, "Hey," texted me. She said, "Per the lender, they don't qualify for the loan." Well, I called her. My husband could not believe that I was that angry. I mean, he's seen me angry, so he's never seen me that angry. But I mean, first of all, that's a phone call. It's a hard call, but it's a phone call.
Got to eat your frog.
Secondly, I go to her. I said, so what's your plan B? Because I always like to have an escape plan, like John says. And her plan B was for my seller to offer them a mortgage. Well, if the bank's not going to give them money, my seller, I'm sure not going to recommend my seller to do that. But I did go to my lender, and I said, do you mind if I have my lender look at it? And she said, no, I don't have a problem with it. And the lender said, well, give me till Monday and I'll let you know if we can do it. And we were able to close that transaction. But I mean, that's a hard phone call. I also, and I know Jennifer does too, I call. When I get a contract, first call I make is to the lender. How solid is this? How good is this transaction? Is this going to close? And that's another thing that we all do. We should all do that.
Communication is key.
It's
the whole transaction.
And you want to make sure that they know what a loan commitment is.
I reiterate
That
over
would be
and over
fun.
again.
That would be one of my things. Okay. And the other thing is buyers go straight to their bank when they want to get a loan. And sometimes that's not the wisest decision. What do you think about that, Gina?
Well, and I've worked for the banks, the local banks. When you work at a bank, you get one set of rates to work with based on these guidelines. When you work with a mortgage broker, they have anywhere from 10 to 50 lenders that they're working with, so they can shop your scenario to get you the best rate and loan program.
And then there's the other thing that I'm really interested in is that's the APR and what's that? Explain the APR in English in every day.
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
But the interest rate is truly what you're paying each month on your monthly payment.
Right.
Your APR includes that rate plus any points you paid to get that rate, and certain of your closing costs are rolled into that and then come out as a percentage.
Okay.
It's usually your APR is higher than your interest rate, but it's the amount that you paid for the whole process over a year's worth of time.
Okay. Okay. So we got that go. Okay.
Thank you, Gina.
Yeah.
Roll
Thank
call.
you.
And that's one of the that's one of the real benefits of using a mortgage broker over a bank.
Huge.
Is that they have so many more products to choose from. So Gina, for instance, can take every individual is different. She can take your situation and put it into a computer program and shop all of these different lenders. I mean, you have access to quite a few different lenders, and these are wholesale lenders, you know, UWM and a bunch of other ones out there. And for your specific scenario, one lender might have a great program and another one might not. So if you're just going to a bank, you're only getting one set of circumstances, where if you go to a mortgage broker like Riverside Mortgage Solutions, then you're shopping it around, and we're able to get you the best points, the best, rate, the best terms. And it's not always about the interest rate, depending on how long you expect to live in your house. If you're coming here for contract labor, you're only going to be in this area for 3 or 4 years, you might want to go with a low cost,
APR,
upfront fees and pay a little higher interest rate. Or if you're planning on being there for 15 or 20 years or 30 years, then the interest rate kind of is more sensitive at that point. So we can look at your total cost on how long you expect to live in that house, and then figure out which one of those curves, where those curves intersect, and figure out what the best product is. So don't just look at the rate, look at the overall, expectancy of you owning that house versus what you're paying up front versus what you're paying long-term over the course of that loan. And you can always refinance at interest rate, right?
Marry the house, date the rate.
That's the best term ever. Get the house that you like. And if you wait for interest rates to come down to purchase, guess what? The price of the houses go up.
Goes up, yeah.
So because there's more competition on them.
Yeah.
So when you have high interest rates, it actually is a very good time to buy, because you're getting the house, you're securing it at a lower price. And if the rates come down in a year or 2 or 5 years, whatever, then you just do a refinance on that, and get your rate down to where you're comfortable with.
And I want to go over some miscellaneous mistakes. There are some miscellaneous mistakes that buyers make, and one of them is not, just assuming, oh, I had a conversation with the seller and they're going to leave me the chandelier. You need to make sure that everything is in writing. And the other thing that people need to understand about a contract is that there should be some. I mean, I would like to believe that everybody that writes a contract is going to be honest and truthful about it. But you can put anything in a contract. The contract depends upon the people on each side. If you're dealing with good people, then even if you say something, it's going to happen. But make sure you put everything in there. The other thing is, never buy a home, and this happens to me all the time. It just happened to me on that one where the guy didn't know what a loan commitment was. Don't buy a house that you haven't seen, okay? It causes great stress.
It really does.
It causes great... It closed. I know it closed. My buyer, it wasn't my buyer. I had the seller. The seller came after all the contingencies were gone for him to walk away, and it was just very stressful. So I've done many a deal like that. It's usually...
The house shows way different from pictures.
Well, that was
one
one heck of a beautiful home. I mean, we all would have lived there. Jennifer and I were considering leaving our husbands and living there. Okay, that's how beautiful that house was.
I don't know if we should have said that on the podcast.
Don't forget to drive the neighborhood in the evening and make sure that you're happy with where the house is. Check on things like noise, all that kind of stuff. Measure for furniture, that's also kind of a fun thing. I just sold a house to my daughter, or really my granddaughter, and the sofa did not fit. I don't know how many times we measured that room, but apparently we had a bad measuring tape. But they were very happy to buy furniture. So don't forget future expenses. Sometimes now roofs are really a big deal. Hot water heaters are really a big deal. Jesse's telling me that I need to say ciao for now. Anyway, here's the deal. Please get a realtor. We don't care which one you get. We're all really very good at our job. Gina is a great lender. So, if you're thinking of purchasing a home or selling a home, please give us a call here at Crown and have the best day ever. Ciao for now. Thank you.